Functions are the essence of coding languages, and they help you reuse code and make your code more efficient overall. So let's say you're running the same code multiple times for a big project. Rewriting it over and over again is just a waste of time and energy. So what we do is we create a function, and then we call that function whenever we need to use that code. And how do we create a function, you might ask? When creating functions, I recommend that you do it in the file itself instead of the console. To create a function, we will use define, which is just def in Python. So you write def and then the name of your function. You can name a function whatever you want, but make sure you don't have the same name for multiple functions, because that might result in compiling errors. So in this function, I'm going to print hello world, and I will call this function hello world because of that. So I'll just do define, which is def, and then I'll name it hello world, and then 2 parentheses. At the end of every name, you also need to make sure you put in 2 parentheses to signify that there is some sort of parameter that goes into the function. Or if there are no parameters, the 2 parentheses show that it's an empty function. Right now, since our function is just a print statement, we don't need to pass any parameters. And after that, after the parentheses, we'll need to add a colon. And then next, we'll just write print hello world. Now, nothing will happen to this function until you call it. So if you just leave it like this in the workspace or even in the console, nothing will happen, nothing will print out. You won't see any result. And you can call a function by simply writing the name of your function, which in our case is hello world, and then the parentheses, hello world. So it'll be hello world and then parentheses. So now when we run this code, we'll get hello world in our console. So now let's get a bit more advanced. I want to create a function that takes in a user's name and then prints hi and then the person's name. So we'll call this function greeting. So we'll just do def or define greeting and then 2 parentheses. Now this time we're going to have to specify an input, because this is not going to be an empty function that you can just call. In other coding languages, you have to specify whether your input is an integer or a string, but in Python you don't have to do that. All you have to do is write name, and then so after the colon we'll write print hi, and then the hi will be in quotation marks, and then we'll just add name and then add an exclamation mark, and then that would be our function. So now let's go ahead and call this and let's see what happens. So we'll call greeting, and then in the parentheses we'll have Jack in quotation marks, and now we can run this to see, and we'll see